How's it going, everybody?
Good.
My name's Troy Parker, and I introduced myself. I worked for some games earlier. So today, I'm going to talk about what it takes. And so for me, having what it takes comes from God. And so God has a name for me, and God told me that my name is Freedom Fighter. And I don't know what that means all the time, but a lot of times it means fighting for the freedom of those around me. Whether it's freedom from the enemy, or freedom from anger or frustration, pain, and so that's kind of what God has labeled me. The main topic here for me that I want to communicate is what it takes to be a game designer, because I'm a video game designer, and there's been many times where I didn't think that was ever going to happen, and it has happened. And so I'd like to tell my story to you guys about how that happened. So, when I was a kid, I remember I used to have lots of dreams and nightmares sometimes. And I remember one dream that I had where there was this great big bin. And in this bin was as many Nintendo games as possible could ever fit in it. And like, it was mine. And I was like, yeah, I want that bin. And that was one, and then I woke up. It was a short dream. But I've always had that excitement for video games. I've always had that excitement for playing Mario Brothers, for whatever. I don't know. I can't count the number of times I beat that game. I even beat it like twice in a row one time just to see what would happen. Because after you beat it the first time, sometimes you get like these the Beatles. Yeah, and then after you beat it the second time, then they're all like the armored shell dudes. And it's like, ah! So my whole life I've been interested in the video games. But aside from that, when I became, I don't know, from the age of like 12, I got addicted to drugs and started drinking alcohol. And I was doing that to fit in. And it was my role. I felt like it was, I was trying to fit in with the people around me, and that's what they did, and so that's what I did. And I wasn't ever true to me, and I wasn't ever true to my name, and I never stood up for my own freedom. And so I think that like ties into what God's saying for me is a little bit. Aside from addiction, I also had anger problems. I had a huge disbelief in authority and people around me. I didn't trust people, mostly because the people that were around me weren't ever really trustful. I couldn't trust my parents. My dad was an alcoholic. My stepmom, really controlling. My mom, not even a part of my life. And I had huge self-esteem problems. I remember going to school and getting picked on, and I remember this one time in school, and there was these kids and they were playing like some Star Trek game or something, and I wanted to play with them, but I seen that they got picked on all the time, and I didn't want to get picked on, and so I didn't play that game. Let's see, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what God's plan for me was, or that God had a plan for me. I was lost, and I was in despair. And that lasted for me up until the time I was about 24. And when I was 24, I found myself being sentenced to a prison sentence, and I went to prison for 4.5 years. And at that time, I decided, you know, like, there is something else out there for me other than all of this other stuff. Like, this can't be me. Like, my life can't be just this. And I turned my life to God, and I started asking Him what my purpose was, and how to do things in life, and what does He want me to be. And I ended up reading this book, The Purpose-Driven Life. And there's a lot of teachings that are pretty similar to that, actually. And so during that process, though, I was trying to find a career, because I thought that that's what purpose was a career. And so I asked God, well, what kind of career do you want me to have? And God's answer was really big. And God was like, I don't care what profession you have. Okay, well, you don't care what profession I have. But then the next question was, well, what do you want me to do in my profession? Because I was still trying to get an answer from God. But He revealed to me that He wanted me to, whatever I did, do for Him. Whether that was a profession or not a profession, or if I was homeless or not homeless, because I had been that before, or whatever it was, whatever I do in life, just do it for God. And I struggled with that. I didn't want to do that. But, so I started brainstorming. I started to think about, well, what am I good at? What needed to change? And my eyes started to open up, and I started to learn who I was. And I started to figure out what it was in me that made me excited, that made me happy. And I knew that was helping others in some way. Entertainment of any sort, getting people's attention, making them laugh. The other thing that I was really good at was playing games, because I had the most experience doing that. Because I played many, many games throughout the years. And that's often what it resulted to when I wasn't causing trouble. So it was like the one good thing in my life where I wasn't hurting other people. And during that time, I started to transform some of my beliefs, and I decided that I was going to make my prison sentence my college, and that it was a learning experience so that I never had to go there again, because it sucked and I hated it. And so I studied the Bible, and after a while of studying the Bible, I decided, well, when I get out, I'm going to need a profession. What do I want to do? And I don't know, like scientist was on that list, or astronaut or something, and being a video game designer, and that was it. Like, there was nothing else I really wanted to do. So I decided I was going to spend some time while I was in prison to learn how to make video games. And I read books about some old program that's probably never used before, and I can't remember what the name of it is. And it's not Unity, and that's what I know now. And so I did that, and my first programming language I learned was Cgdc. And it's nothing like C#. And so, you know, I started to go down that route, and I started drawing all the time because I was unsure whether, you know, like I wanted to be flexible. I wanted to be able to know enough about each field of making video games as possible, so one day I could make my own video game and be like the owner of a company and doing that. Which I'm kind of not at yet. I own my own company, but I'm still making it for people. So, but I still hadn't made a game, and I wanted to make a game. So I was in this program to get out of prison early, and I had failed, and I was sitting in like a holding cell with another inmate, and I was expressing to him my excitement about video games and how I wanted to make a video game. And he said, and like I didn't know how to make a game, and so he was like, well, I have a way. His name was Duke. And he's like, I know how to make a game. And we sat down within like an hour or something and made this random game where you could either go to the forest or you could go to the city, and there was armor and weapons and whatever, snakes and dragons and all kinds of cool stuff to kill in the forest, and it was all randomized when you went to the forest what you got, and everything was like it was like on 10 levels or whatever, and so it was pretty interesting. And but like, do I have what it takes? And in that moment, regardless of everything else going around me, my life falling apart, I was still pulled to that. Like, I still wanted to make games. Like, life wasn't very good at that time. I was in trouble, and I didn't feel like I had what it took, but I still made a game anyways. So, for the next about a year and a half, 2 years in prison after that point, I continued to grow that game, and I made it like to where you could get to level 10, but it took a really long time to get to level 10, especially playing with numbers 1 through 10 that you had to draw because we didn't have dice. You're not allowed those. But so I had like a random number generator, and I created like this random dungeon generator where you like draw, like, okay, well, what happens here in between 1 and 10? If you get this 5, then it branches off to the right, or it branches off to the left, and then there's another room, and then what's in that room? Is there a bad guy or whatever? And so I created a random dungeon generator, and I just continued creating places you could go, and I created like this tower you could go to that had room, like a door that would take you to any level in the game, and it was all random, so you could go there and then you'd go to a random level and you didn't know where you were going. And I worked on it, I don't know, probably 4 to 20 hours a week. Also during that time I was handwriting the Bible. That's a different story though. So shortly before I got out of prison, I heard that my dad had cancer and was dying. And I was supposed to have a visit with my daughter, Novalie, and me and her mom were arguing through letters. So I didn't think I was going to get a visit, and I did. And I don't know, like my world was crashing down around me, and I was getting out of prison, and I was scared, and I didn't know if I was going to end up going back to prison, because that's kind of the statistics. And so I was scared, and I turned from God. And God was telling me that I would get out and I would become a video game designer. God was telling me that I would have this excellent relationship with my daughter. And God was telling me that I would see my dad before he died. And I didn't believe him. And I told God, I said, God, I don't believe you that I'm going to get those things. And I quit talking to God. So, probably, August to November. So I got out in August, and in November, I had an interview for an internship at Soma Games. And at that time, I didn't know that Soma Games, I didn't know there was a Christian game developers conference. And I sure as hell didn't think that other people were making Christian games. And so I just thought it was a normal game studio or whatever. I found them on. I lived in Hillsboro, and they were like in the next town over in Newburgh. And it seemed kind of like it would be a pain in my butt if I did get the internship. And but I went for the interview anyways. But I'd like to talk about how I ended up getting that interview, because it's actually really interesting. So I'm sitting there with Robert Gaffney, which is a liaison for this program through PCC and the the veterans, the VA. And so he was the liaison, and he came to kind of talk through me about how I'm going to pitch people about getting an internship. And so I created this list of like 20 different people in the Hillsboro area that I was willing to work at, and as homework for this. And I had also found 7 companies under like game design, and I called a couple of them. I ended up leaving a message on Chris Gragg's answer machine that he never checks.
Still never check.
And And I ended up calling a guy that made like casino apps or machines or something like that, like slot machines. And I don't know, he didn't really seem interested in having me work there anyway. So I ended up sitting down with Robert Gaffney, and like an hour into my conversation with Dr. Gaffney, I get a phone call. And so I pull out my phone, and it's really rude to answer your phone while I'm in the middle of a business meeting like that. And I pull out my phone, and I don't know who it is, and I just answer it. And I'm like, and I feel dumb. I'm like, oh, why did I just answer the phone? And it's Chris. And I end up like this pitch that I learned, I was able to pull out and use right there. And then Chris had more questions and stuff like that and wanted to talk to Dr. Gaffney, and he happened to be sitting right there. And then like when I'm handing the phone off, I'm like, this is not real. This didn't happen. I was in disbelief, like, I don't know what's going on. And so anyways, then I get this interview, and I'm down with John Bergquist because Chris has to step out of the office. And I'll explain kind of later why Chris was stepping out of the office. And I sit down with John Bergquist, and the things that I brought were a drawing that I drew while I was in prison, that game that I had worked on for a long time that had Christian views in it, and sometimes just really just Christian stuff. And I sat down with John Bergquist, and everything's randomized. And John Bergquist doesn't play a lot of games. And so, like, I didn't know that. So I played this game with John Bergquist, and he just loves it. He's having fun, and we killed zombies, and he died a couple times, and or where he just passed out, and then they drag him to the, and then you wake up at the, whatever the, God it is. Okay. Oh, the graveyard. Okay, so you wake up in the graveyard, and then there's zombies there, and he's got to like kill these zombies, and he just has a lot of fun playing my game, and he sees the Christian hints in there. And he asked me, he said, did you know that Soma Games was a Christian game design company? And I was like, no. I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I left, and that day, I knew that God had given me that. And I knew that God had told me to make that game. And I listened to God, and it was bearing fruit. Bam. And I couldn't deny God anymore. So, within 2 weeks after that, my dad died. And my dad died from cancer. And he had liver cancer, and the treatments for liver cancer are blood transfusion, or they can go in and cut out part of your liver. My dad didn't have enough liver left for them to go cut anything out because he had cirrhosis of the liver from drinking. And they couldn't give him a blood transfusion because he had hepatitis C from using intravenous drugs. And so there was no cure for my dad's cancer. And it was powerful to me at that time because having a past of drug addiction and alcohol abuse and drinking and partying, I realized that if you do that your whole life, then you die. And it was powerful. And it kept me clean and sober. So, what it's like now. Now's the fun part. Now I'm a game designer. I did a year-long internship with Chris. That was fun. Now I get paid to have fun at work. It's awesome. I've been to this Cgdc before once. I went to GDC twice, GDC next once. Those are kind of the fun parts for me. I like the interaction with people and, talking and getting to know people and showing off the product. We showed off some artwork we had for Redwall, and we were showing some stuff for G, and then like everyone was like, red wall, red wall, red wall. And I was like, G, and they said red wall, red wall. It's like, okay. Guess I'm talking about red wall today. So that was really interesting. Red wall. When I was like 12, I went to the library and they had these books, and I got one and I said, I'm going to read every single one of these. And then like the next year I ran away from home, and then when I was 14 we moved to Las Vegas and I forgot about that. But I did want to read all those books. Maybe I will one day. And so, you know, today my life seems unreal. And oftentimes I find myself struggling with, do I deserve this life? Like, what did I do, right? But the reality is I didn't do anything. If anything, all I did was listen. And I did what God told me to do. Because of that, then I get good things. I get an awesome job, a dream job. Like I planned it out. I thought about, okay, I want to have a dream job, and this is what my dream job would look like. And then I got better than what I had planned. Like, how does that work? And, you know, I'm sitting up here today, I'm like really, I don't know what time this is. I have a lot of time left. You know, I realized today that I don't have what it takes to be a game designer or anything else really, but I get that from God, and that's what it takes. It takes that calling. Like, God is calling me to do this, to make cutting edge games for Christ. That's my mission, right? And whatever that looks like, that's where I go. And so now that I have only talked for 30 minutes or less, so I'm going to talk about some of the projects, I guess, that I've been working on. One of the funnest projects I did was, it was this silly, I needed to make like a little skating rink with these blocks that spun around in circles and make them change color depending on their velocity. And I don't even know if that was a real project, but Crystal made me do it and I did it. And it was fun. I had fun. That was in Unity. And I made something that was interactive, and I think you had some control over like this little ball that rolled around and ran into these square blocks. And I don't know, like, I remember prototyping, like we in Stargate Gunship, there was this, Chris wanted there to be like this 3D GUI thing, and where it like spins around, and there's different GUI on each face, and like, I don't know, it seemed kind of impossible to the other guys in the office, but nothing's impossible to me. So Chris like prototyped this thing, so I prototyped it, and in like 4 hours I had like this prototype of a spinning object that when you clicked the thing, it turned around and was interactable and looked like a GUI system. So now I do a lot of GUI at work. Mostly just implementation though. I don't really do the art part. G prime, that's what I'm actually in the middle of. Like I'm sitting here talking, I should be working on G prime, that's what I want to do. Nothing against you guys, just making games is way more fun than speaking. What are some other projects I worked on? Threat dynamics. Oh my gosh. So we're making this program that you can like shoot this gun that shoots a laser at a screen, and then like the camera reads that there was a shot and where it was at. And like, I know that sounds pretty simple, except it's got to communicate through the internet to 2 different devices and making all of that happen. And as a convicted felon, I can't test it because it's a real gun, so I haven't got any play testing in on that project, but it was still, it's actually been a huge challenge, and I've always liked challenges my whole life. And so it's like the worst puzzle I've ever done though. It hurts. I remember going to home at night and just my brain feeling like mush for 3 weeks straight. But I kept questioning, like, well, is this really part of my mission? Because, like, cutting edge games for Christ, right? And in a lot of ways it helps fund that. And so I know getting through that time to get into the next time, to where I can make games like Redwall, it is kind of pivotal to sit around and do those things. Helps pay the bills, keep belly. I think something that I've really been working on lately is trying not to get distracted by all of this, the world out here. And I find it so hard sometimes, like, to just do my mission. And to the point that I took a whole month off work to try and build my own game. That didn't work. You need funding to make a game? Apparently nobody told me. I didn't get the memo. So now it's on hold waiting for funding, which may come one day. I might get funding for it. That's True Dukin. On Saturday, I think I speak again. And I'm going to go over how I actually made True Dukin so you guys have your own, so you guys can create your own first game if you haven't created a game yet. It's actually pretty simple. I couldn't believe how easy it was. We did it in like an hour. And we had to cut out paper. I'm going to give you guys dice. It's way easier with dice. We did a Kickstarter. Oh, Minecraft. Oh my gosh, that was an awesome project.
You guys made Minecraft?
Huh?
You guys made Minecraft?
No, we didn't make Minecraft.
Redwall in Minecraft.
Yes, we built the Abbey and some surrounding areas. That was an awesome project because I got to play Minecraft for like 2 months. I think I was still an intern at that time. I don't know. I can't remember. In a way, I got paid. Super fun project though. I remember building, I had to lay out the foundation for the Abbey, and I got it wrong like 20 times. It's probably still wrong. Don't tell everybody though, they'll make me change it. And then we had the Kickstarter, and I got to learn about communication and how to communicate with people. That's what I've done. That was something huge for me. To the point now, I like don't use Facebook because I don't like to communicate with people. But sometimes, then I miss Facebook. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of in there with Facebook right now. So you're watching where I go on the internet. I care. Sometimes I don't care. And then I'm on Facebook. I don't know. I think I'm going to end this early.
How about
Sorry.
Q&A? Can we do Q&A?
Yeah, Q&A. I'm up for a Q&A.
Right.
Yeah, right here.
Got a question for you. Take me through a typical day for yourself from a spiritual perspective and from like a game design perspective. Like, what is it that you do kind of on average on a daily basis?
So let's see. I wake up in the morning and I generally ask God how He is today. Say good morning. I'm grateful to be alive. On a good morning. On a bad morning, I'm grumbling about something to God. I don't like the way my hair looks today, God. I don't know, whatever it is. I don't get paid enough. How am I supposed to do this mission? I don't know. I haven't done that in a week. It's a good week. And then, you know, I get ready, take a shower. Sometimes it's a really fast shower because I'm running late. Then I go play Ingress for half an hour. And then I go to work because if I don't blow up Chris's portals in the morning, then they're too powerful to take at night. Because he only puts one on them. Then I get to work, and then we're like introducing this new like Scrum methodology thing. At first I didn't like it and I almost walked out, and then I was like, my dream job. What am I doing? But I'm starting to get used to the Scrum thing. I like it. It helps organize the team so everybody knows like what needs to get done, and then we do it. So that's like the first thing that happens when I get to work. Then I get a cup of coffee, and then I plug in my computer. Then it's usually right into Unity. I don't know. I use a lot of Unity. We've decided as a team to stick with C# because it has, I don't know, more functionality with less headache. I think it's the reason behind all that. Then at lunch, I usually go play more Ingress. But I walk around and like, Ingress is this game you play with your phone. There's like these portals at different locations, so you have to walk from point A to point B to get to the destination. So during those walks, I talk with God about it, you know? Like if whatever it is at work, like how do you want me to do this? What is this supposed to look like to you? Is this the right thing? And then like I come back from lunch and then like I just totally rock out and I'm like boom and bust out a bunch of work. It helps me get organized to think about it and to ask God, like God, what is it that you want in this game? Are we doing the right thing? Is there anything you need me to tell Chris so that it changes? Because I don't have control over the changes. That's my average lunch. That's usually what I do on lunch. Get home, I go and I hang out with my friend Steve and his wife Heather. They usually feed me, otherwise I probably wouldn't eat. So I'm kind of happy about that. I don't make a lot of money. I make a little money. I have child support. Raise, Chris. I want a raise. I hang out with Steve, fellowship. Steve's also a Christian, and we go over like often we talk about like Revelations and like all that, and he keeps bringing up like this Four Bloods moon thing. I don't know what all that's about. And then like, so there's that side of Steve. Then there's this other side of Steve that's like, he's all into like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And so we talk about the chemtrails and all kinds of cool stuff. It keeps me fresh for games like G though. Need to go back to those kind of things. And then I play video games about an hour, and then I go to sleep. That's usually what I do. It's my day-to-day. Oh, I guess at night I take an inventory for myself at night. What, I had a today go. Do I owe amends or apology to anybody? Did I hurt anybody today? I also do that. It's like the last thing I do before I fall asleep.
You share triumphs and challenges with working with the team?
Triumphs and challenges. Having to communicate with my PO to go on trips sucks, and I hate doing it. She always asks me for more money. And it's something that irritates me, like I feel controlled or manipulated by the government in a lot of ways. Communication sometimes in the team is hard. Recently I was in the middle of a project and I tried to communicate that the internet wasn't working the right way, and it never got communicated that was like a holdup and was preventing me from continuing. And so I continued to write code without being able to play test, and everything was broken. So that was kind of hard to deal with because I failed on communication. So communication is something that can hold you up and has held me up quite a bit. Triumphs, getting over that, and then having a great boss helps with that. I think the Scrum methodology is an excellent solution for that. Now that we're doing that. Scrum, we got a link, Kurt, you got a link?
Yeah, so actually scrumreferencecard.com if you're interested.
Scrumreferencecard.com.
It's an agile methodology.
It's basically a way for a team to communicate that allows a team. It seems like it takes a long time at first to kind of like understand what the whole project is, but then knowing what the whole project is and then being able to execute that is a lot faster in your execution. Like we had. Okay. Scrum. Let's have a Scrum meeting, Chris.
Okay.
Today I gave a speech. Tomorrow. Any other questions?
Yeah, between the time that you did your pen and paper game prototype to the time that you were working at Soma Games, how did you acquire the skill you needed to work at Soma? Was it just on the job learning as you go, or what?
I watched a couple of YouTube videos on how to do Unity. I downloaded Unity and messed around with it. Took a tutorial. Everything that was within a week.
And you want to raise?
Exactly. But then I learned a lot on the job also as we went along, and I would do tutorials and stuff like that. It was an internship, so I used like my internship to learn the things that I know, and that meant going home and continuing to learn things, working on my own game, trying to create other stuff, use Unity. I still have a lot to learn. I don't know everything about Unity. I don't even know what a DLL file is. John makes those things. I know that. So yeah, I don't know. I know how to write script. I know how to do it. I'm pretty decent at. You give me a picture and you give me art, and I make it look just like the picture. I don't think that skill is reproduced from drawing while I was in prison. Probably, I just look at anything I wanted to draw it. So, and try to make it look exactly like that. So. I'm getting a phone call. I feel like answering it, but I'm not.
Worked out last time.
I know, right?
Maybe it's a raise calling.
Chris, put your phone away. Any other questions?
So, you said you've got paper prototyping, right?
Yes.
So, one thing that I heard that people do is they take like board game pieces and stuff, and from the paper prototyping that they're doing, and then try to play their game that way. Is that something that, let's say, for instance, I want to prototype Super Mario. How would I do that in paper prototype?
If I was going to prototype Super Mario, well, you'd have to have like a map, so you get a big piece of paper for the map, and then so that would be like one, and then you have to, like I use paper a lot, and so I'd cut like a piece of paper out for Mario to designate like where he's at, and then you'd have to have the levels, and so like the levels would have like their design, and then you would you'd find a way to design where the Koopa Troopas areas of walking are, which would be like strips, probably of paper, and so you'd like pin those together, and then you'd have like a flow. You'd have to have like some kind of flow chart to determine like which levels go which way, or and what when you go down into a tube, where does that take you? That might also be graphical too. You could have like another sheet of, like you have your level out on a whole bunch of different pieces of paper, and you put like a, you know, this tunnel down here, and this sky area over here. You'd have to cut out bricks, so you knew where the bricks were at, and like the little coin things, and and then you have like special bricks that represent the coin things, and so something probably like that. That's how I prototype that.
Okay. I was just going to say, one of the other things, I've done that kind of prototyping. Then you take a big sheet of paper or a regular one and you cut a window in it. so you can see what it's going to look like on the screen. And then because you look at it when it's just like the whole thing, you see it one way, and then you cut out the piece of paper and drop it over the top, and you realize, okay, that's what I get to see at any point in time. It gives you a good visibility of like this is how it's going to look on the screen.
Okay. Does anybody in here else prototype that way? Like,
The goal between that kind of prototype is you'll do really quickly and iterate. I've seen people use paper, I've seen them use Legos. If you're fast with like, a tool like Committee, you can prototype in there too. But the speed is the goal, that I can kill something, put it up, kill something, put it up, kill something, put it up as quickly as possible.
We prototyped in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
You told us about what you would do like on a regular day for when you were kind of full-fledged game designer. What kind of things would you do every day when you were an intern or when you didn't have the same skills?
As an intern, I would show up and I would say, what do you want me to do today? And I would do that and wash the dishes. I still wash the dishes, by the way. Makes you valuable. Nobody likes washing dishes. Just wash the dishes. And just be willing to learn. Like I was a sponge. I went around, I tried to learn everything I could about Unity and how to use it, and I would watch Gavin, I would watch Lenny. Lenny works a little fast, I don't know what he does all the time. Gavin will slow down for me sometimes, so that's what I know what he's doing. I watched, I would work. So when I first started my internship, I had an hour and a half bus ride, 2-hour bus ride from Hillsboro and to Newburgh, because you have to go around this thing. It's not like you can go right over. And then I would get off where I would go to work. I'd get off work and come home, and then watch Unity tutorials. So I was just long hours all the time, and that's all I did probably for 3 to 6 months. Then I got my car and then my truck, and I was like, oh yay! Now and then I probably didn't study for that whole week. And then I was like, no, I gotta learn this stuff. And so before I had the skills, I knew that I needed the skills, and so I sought after those skills with a passion. There's in life, I want to go to the store. But then there's I want to make video games, and I had this set time aside just for that. And I was in a relationship, and I had a girlfriend, and she didn't like how I did that. I didn't spend enough time with her because I was busy trying to learn games. So she dumped me. That's what happens sometimes. She got mad at me because I scheduled time for her, so I remembered to do stuff with her. And then she got mad at that. Don't put women on a schedule. They don't like that. Go ahead.
You talked earlier about distractions, how the world is, things distraction in the world. Tell me a little bit about how you overcame those distractions, what kind of techniques you use, that kind of thing.
Well, first you have to identify what the distractions are. Having a girlfriend was a huge distraction, to be honest, especially because she wasn't really happy with how I was doing things. She became kind of controlling, and so she became a distraction by me controlling stuff like that. Not that having a girlfriend is a distraction, just having a controlling one is trying to prevent you from living your dream. Was a distraction. Some of the other distractions I have had are video games, honestly. I like to play games, and so that takes me out of study a lot, playing games. But then I always justify oh, it's research. But that only works for so long. 30 minutes a day video games is research. Anything more than that is entertainment. So, I guess probably my biggest distraction right now, which I'm aware of, is Ingress. I play a lot of Ingress. I walk around, and I justify it because it's exercise and I'm walking, but it's expensive on gas. So that's one of my distractions right now. My distraction before that was another video game that I was playing, but then I was like, nope, I'm not going to play that anymore. Ingress is way better. So video games a lot is a distraction for me. At work, it's hard to stay focused sometimes because Chris is on the phone and Gavin and Lenny are talking back and forth, and then, yeah, the two Joshes, they don't really say anything. They're not really distractions. You know, other people, I have a window, and so like, now I used to sit like this on my desk, but I could see out the window, so now I sit like this on my desk, so I can't see out the window, otherwise I'm like looking out the window all the time. Some of my other distractions are the plant. Now, why is the plant a distraction? Because if it needs water, it needs water, so you go check that. And so, but I've checked it sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, it's a distraction. There's also blockers, though, normal blockers, like things in life. My daughter is a distraction, and I'm okay with that. I accept that as a distraction. I'm okay with being distracted by my daughter. So like on the weekend, I get my daughter, and I don't study, and I don't do anything. I don't even play games though. So I just spend time with my daughter. So those are good times. And so not all distractions are bad distractions. You know, they're good distractions too. But to combat some of those, what really works for me at work is I make a list of what I have to do, and I look at that, and I look at my computer, and then like before I look at anything else, I look at that and I look at my computer, and that seems to help me out a lot. That's how I combat that a lot. Like, this is my to-do list, and this is where I do my to-dos. So this is my area of focus right here, and then people come up and talk to me. And I look down at my list and I look at my computer, I'm like, oh, what do? I didn't account for this. So I'm like, oh, and then I look at it, I'm like, what did you want? I didn't hear what you said. And so, yeah, that happens sometimes. Communication is a huge, when there's not communication in the office, then that becomes a blocker and it becomes a distraction because like you need to communicate and you're trying to do that. So having good communication, like in the morning with how we're doing the scrum, like totally helps because I don't have to go talk to John and then go talk to Gavin and then go talk to Josh and then go talk to Chris. Like we just all have it in one meeting and then I don't have to go around and communicate to everybody. And dirty dishes in the sink. I gotta wash the dishes. It's a distraction. Any other questions? No? Okay. I guess I'm good.